Mm. Just starting. Thank you so much. Mm. I'll be right there. Okay.
Oh,
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Office of Special Education Services LEA information session for special education. I apologize. I need to mute something over here. I will start out by saying technology has not been my friend today, so I do apologize. If one of my colleagues would like to send me a text to say that you could help with watching the chat, because I don't seem able to get to that right now. But yes, so welcome to our meeting. Today is October 7th, and we will get right into it. Our agenda includes Peter Quape is going to be talking to us about the academic seminar coding and standards. A copy of the memo that you received a while back is in your folder, but he's going to be talking about above and beyond what just the memo is talking about. Katie Heiss has some information and updates about Ed Plan SC. Lisa McClimate is going to be giving us some guidance updates as well as talking about fall admin. And Jenny Dillon is traveling today, but she provided us with a slide about the South Carolina Council on Exceptional Children next year's conference, 2026. So I'll be reading that slide, but if you have any questions, she has her earbuds in and she can answer questions. Then we are very grateful to have Troy Hall from Able, South Carolina. He is the Director of Youth Transition Programs, and he's going to be talking with us today about that. And then we have updates from our wonderful technical assistance centers, part of SC teams from our Academic Alliance and our Transition Alliance of South Carolina. So let's get into it. Peter, you're up first.
Good afternoon. I was just going to follow up on the memo that was sent out on the 25th. So next slide. A copy of that memo is also linked in the chat. So if you want to go to the chat, there's a link in there to that memo. And the memo just spoke to the changes that have been made in the course coding. And basically, we have this year to develop standards and criteria for that course. All other courses that receive college or high school credit, have standards and criteria for it. So this shouldn't be a drastic change for most academic seminar courses throughout the state, or strategies courses, some districts call it. It shouldn't be really a change, but it is a chance to kind of discuss, the instruction that's going on. But the bottom line is that in order to receive weighted credit for a course, you would need to have instruction at the high school level, and some kind of assessment of the students on their progress in that instruction, and in mastering the content that's being provided. So the bottom line is that this will be a unique course, obviously, because it is individualized for each student, the specialized instruction that they receive. But it should be based in supporting the student in accessing the general ed curriculum at the high school level. So the starting point naturally for creating such standards is to look at the ELA and math standards for the high school courses that we already have in place. And so if you're teaching to those standards, obviously you're teaching to the content that you need to in order to assist that student in accessing the general ed curriculum. So there will be flexibility, and the uniqueness about this course is that you wouldn't obviously apply all standards, all of the ELA and math standards that are appropriate for high school students, but you would be working on those that the student needs to work on based upon their individual needs. So it will have that flexibility built in to allow for that type of instruction. So if you're already utilizing standard-based instruction and curricula in your academic seminar courses, it should be fine to meet the criteria for weighting as we move on. So in other words, there's no need to think that this is going to revolutionize it. I think that what this is going to call into question is, what is going on in that seminar course, and if it's just a study hall, then those students aren't really receiving the specialized instruction that their IEP is calling for in specific areas. There will also be probably some additional standards and criteria relating to some other things that are worked on in academic seminar, like behavior and academic strategies, specific to supporting the child once again in accessing the general ed curriculum and reaching that goal of getting a diploma. So if you go to the next slide, you just see that how it appears, the academic seminar appears, and it's the notes obviously will be rewritten for next year, along with we'll probably come up with a new course description to make it more explicit about the type of instruction that's expected, particularly if you're giving academic weighting. But once again, it allows for the choice of a non-weighted 0 or a C, which would provide credit to the student, weight-bearing credit for the course. So those options will continue. It's just going to be explicitly stated that here's the criteria and standards that will serve as the foundation for these courses. So that's it. I know that there was some confusion as to what the next step in the process will be, but right now we're working with a stakeholder group, just getting started to drafting it. I expect in future LEA sessions we'll start giving some drafts so that people can comment on it. But once again, it's not a drastic change. It's going to borrow from already existing standards, which makes sense because that's what you're supporting, is the child's access and achievement within those standards at the high school level. So I'm checking the chat, see if there's any questions.
No questions in the chat yet. So
Okay.
you're good, Peter. Thank you.
Well, we'll keep you up to date as the progress continues on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Next, we have Katie Heiss. And Katie, if you need to share your screen, just go ahead and take it.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I don't have too much, just 3 quick things. One is SC and Rich, so the historical documents. We've been working with 5 districts on kind of start with and looking at getting them over, making sure that kind of goes smoothly. But I will begin reaching out in the next few weeks to other districts. It's going to be a file drop, and we're doing that in collaboration with special ed team, and then your IT people, and then our data team here at SCDE, our IIT team, are helping with that. So we are working it all out, making sure that it's going to be smooth when we start doing more districts. But right now we're starting with a few, working out the kinks, making sure everything goes smoothly, and then I'll be updating you individually as to, hey, it's your turn. So just if you make sure that you haven't already, if you've filled out the form stack form, and then we can move on from there. And then for SSO integration, I hope this is the last time that publicly I will be talking about SSO integration with you all. Here on out, it will be on an individual basis, whether you are ready and you want to let me know, or I'm emailing you just to check to see if you're ready to go. And so the way we'll be doing SSO integration from here on out is starting Monday 10/20, so October 20th, and then every other Monday. So the next time would be like November 3rd. If we have any districts that are ready and set up to go, then they would go on that Monday evening into Tuesday morning. And so the other thing that we're doing is we'll be testing some users prior to you going. So I know there were some districts that were delayed when we did the integration on 9 and 10. I think we pulled about 28 districts back over to SSO. So we're at a majority that's there. And so if you are not using SSO and you're like, hey, we're ready, or we want to get ready, reach out to me. Otherwise, you'll be hearing from me individually about whether or not you're ready. And so that's it for SSO integration. And then I'm going to share my screen. And just something that in talking with Carolyn, I wanted to kind of walk through you with real quick, because Carolyn said she's seeing a lot of errors with the child count report when it comes to that grade placement. And so with XG, for example, how to find those students. And so you're just going to go to find students, student search, and then making sure you're in advanced search, and then going down to grade level, just select XG. And then you'll scroll all the way down, and you're going to want to view all the students. If you have too many that are showing XG, you might have to break it up. It'll give you an error message. Right now, you can see I am in my training site, and I'm seeing 2 students that have XG. And so you'll want to have a grade level in there for that child count report. So that XG is kind of just a placeholder when they usually first come into the SSI. And another thing that I just want to remind everyone, what I'm kind of seeing as I'm working with districts and helping them is there's a great process to get those students into SSI. So they're coming in, they need an evaluation. And so you're working well with the PowerSchool people to get them into the system. And then maybe they move, something happens, they transfer. So there's no way to get them out. And so when running your data, what we're seeing with some of the districts is that you have quite a few students that are sitting in that SSI school that shouldn't be there anymore. And so it is impacting because it's showing for compliance. So making sure that there's a way in and there's a way out for those students. And I saw on the chat, please walk through that again. Is that the student search? All right, so I can do that. Sure. All right. So here we are on our beautiful EdPlan SC dashboard, and we're going to click on Find Students. We're going to go to Student Search. From Student Search, you might have, like right now, like I have, when you first come up, it might look basic. So you want to make sure that you're in advanced. It will pull up grade levels. One of the things you'll notice is that this used to have like a drop down list, and when it was drop down, you couldn't just pick multiple. And so that was a change recently that someone had asked for. And so we did, but you're going to hit XG, and then you're going to scroll all the way down. Excuse all my scrolling. And then you're going to hit View Students. And when you hit View Students, you're going to have all your students that come up that are showing XG. So definitely want to look at that. Like, you know, my red flag for me would be like, oh, this one doesn't have a case manager. And so more than likely, if they don't have a case manager and they're showing past due, they probably just didn't get pulled out of that SSI and that they're still sitting there. So remember, it's really important to look at all the students that you have, and using this, I really like to use this part of the system. This is where I find all the things that maybe I don't necessarily want to find, but and so when I would look at this, when I was at the district, I could pull this up to see like who doesn't have a case manager, because all students should have somebody that we know that student's accounted for. And so that's a great way to check. And this advanced student search is a great way to find those students. All right, and that's all for me. Like I said, it was real quick. Any questions, just let me know. And I hope everyone has a great afternoon.
Thank you, Katie. All right, let's see, from current slide.
There was one question, Katie. Some XG are transferred out. How do we fix those?
So if they're transferred out, Sonia, more than likely, you probably need to get them out of the SSI, like having them exited, but you can email me and we can kind of walk through that process. XG is a placeholder. Great question. It's when they come in the SSI and you're not sure what grade level they're going to be in. It's just supposed to be there for like a little bit of time. And so what we're seeing is that are fully enrolled and they're still sitting with the XG because it just hasn't been changed over in PowerSchool.
For any other
That
questions?
helps. Yep.
It's like that is it. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay. go
Oh,
ahead,
true
Lisa.
grade is where we put the real grade. Is that correct, Katie? There's a few more questions in the chat for you and you're muted. I'm gonna.
Okay. Yes. So True Grade, I have a blurb about True Grade because we've had to go back and forth with that, with how it pulls from the system and where it's pulling from. So I'll have to look at that because I don't want to answer off the cuff because that is like somewhere in my brain that's not right here right now. So I don't want to give the wrong thing for True Grade because I have to look at my blurb. And then do you want me to address to cover how to correct the? So Nikki, are you talking about the changing the disability? Or I'm sorry, the LRE not showing for the transfer of comparable services students?
I'm not sure, actually. Carolyn Bostic sent an email out today that said that she had asked you to cover how to correct LRE grade age mismatch for child count and sent this meeting link.
Okay.
Katie, I'm here. The
Okay.
email that I sent to you this morning asking if you would talk about the LRE grade mismatch and how they would go into the system to correct that for the pre-K.
Yeah, I guess I thought I was covering the like when it's XG with the errors that you were getting.
No,
So I'm not sure. Let me think.
just for the pre-K students that are now kinder and the LRE is actually showing the wrong LRE, looking at it from the perspective of what the question is asking in the system.
Oh, okay. So for that, we are finalizing an article that PCG has written to go over. So we've taken the tickets and they have developed articles for some of the errors that we're seeing, and that was one of them. The other one was like the disability, like if you've finalized the IEP before you finalize this eligibility determination. So I'll have that tomorrow, the LRE grade mismatch. Sorry, Carolyn, I thought you were asking about when the grade's not listed correctly. So like the XG and how to find those students. Yeah, so the amendment, so if you had the wrong LRE in there and then that's what it was pulling from, then I think the guidance was to provide to complete an amendment where the LRE is pulling from. Yes. So, but there is articles that PCG has been working on and putting together that should be finalized and ready to go for tomorrow. That was the last word I had on that because I asked for articles with all of the common issues that we were seeing through Zendesk tickets. But no, I don't want to get Nikki, I don't want to cover that right now because I need to check with Nick to make sure that that is the fix.
That's fine. Sorry, I was just here to make sure I wasn't missing anything, and so that's why I brought it up. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you, Nikki. Yeah, I'll be sending out more information. I meet with PCG tomorrow for several hours to cover some of this. And so as soon as I have those articles, I'll send those out to EdPlan contacts and power users.
Thanks, Katie. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And you can email me too if you have additional questions.
Okay, Lisa, you're next.
Okay. I'm sharing my screen, but I don't see it. Do you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just some updates on some documents and guidance that we've added to the website under our regulations, policy, and guidance. We've added restraint and seclusion guidance, updated in November, and my apologies because I swore that I talked about this at a info session, and I must have talked about it at a staff meeting. It is not new guidance. It is basically, we got a lot of feedback from some folks about being redundant and very long and saying the same thing over and over again. So we did pull a stakeholder group together and kind of made it just short and sweet and to the point, and tried to take out all the redundant information that we had put in there. And we also added a quick reference guide because we had some requests for that. So that stakeholder group we worked with developed that quick reference guide. So that's on our website as well. And let me go back. And if you go up to districts and professional development, Lynette, Dr. Cox, our ombudsman, gotten tons and tons of calls from gen ed teachers about using accommodations and modifications and what's the difference. So we did put together for some, I'm not going to play it for you, but it's just a, I'm going to stop that. It's just a 12-minute voiceover PowerPoint that explains for gen ed teachers what accommodations and modifications are and what their responsibilities are as a gen ed teacher to use accommodations in the classroom. So that's available. You know, some districts had asked for something they could use, you know, that first week of the school year, or just when teachers have questions. So that's added, new. We also, under academics in our professional, in our resources, we have added some at the very bottom, online testing tools and accessibility resources. So instructions, document for online testing tools, using universal supports for online testing. You can take a look at some of what's on there. A training PowerPoint that you can download. And that's all about universal supports for online testing. So, you know, that you're able to use for training on your in your district. And then the script, and then the memo that went out for online testing tools and training. And so that's what's new on the website. And then just to save the date, you know, our first fall admin conference was planned out months and months and months ago. And then the venue went out of business and we kind of had to readjust. And then by that time, getting a venue was difficult with all of the conferences, case and everything. And all the districts that are now, you know, year round have different fall breaks. We decided to try two dates, November 6th or 12th. You would choose the date that works best for you. It's going to be at Phillips Market Center, which is here at the State Farmers Market. So it's kind of right there where 26 and 77 meet. So wherever you're coming from, you know, whether we should be pretty easy to find. 8:30 registration will begin, and its conference is 9 to 4. And we are doing Be a Data Detective, kind of our theme with reading and math. We're going to be looking at improving reading and math scores, personal bias in data analysis, diving into your own district data, and doing some action planning as a district. Not required, but, you know, just to say, now that I've looked at my data, you know, where might I go from here? IDC, the IDEA Data Center, is going to be doing presenting or working with us that day. That's Justin Ferrier and our own South Carolina Fred Adora. For those of you who've been around for a long time, he was our data manager years, I want to say 7-8 years ago now. He's been with IDC. And also the National Center for Systemic Improvement. Mary Watson's going to be here with them. And Wyatt, who you already met, I think, at the last info session, who went through GPS data. He's going to also be available, and some of his team, to help us dig through some data. And the registration will go out tomorrow. So just keep a lookout for that. And you must register, the question Sarah put out there, each person individually. There will be like a checkbox for picking what lunch you want. Makes it easier for us to make sure that everybody gets the lunch that, you know, that they want. And thank you, Susan Thomas. Fred is great too. We watched him at IDC conference a few months ago do a presentation with Delaware and then another state. He does the Be a Detective kind of thing, and it was amazing. And the states that went through the process just had wonderful things to say about, you know, how their conferences went. So we're really hoping that this is going to be more of a working kind of conference. And, you know, it's, you know, based on indicator, you know, our indicator 3 reading and math data, and, you know, how we can, you know, support all of you in the districts on improving those scores. Because our report card is a focus, you know, is definitely, you know, your report card is a reflection in our report card as a state. And we don't have a limit on how many people can go from each district. We typically in the past, you know, have said, Sarah, what have we set a limit at? Like 5, but you know, we right now, since we're spreading it out in 2 days, you know, we really haven't set a limit, but be reasonable. You know, we don't want a team of 20 people, you know, coming, but you know, so that will be, and the registration link will go out tomorrow, and it also will go on that website on our carousel that kind of changes and updates your information. So. Thanks, Sarah.
Yep. Lisa, there is a question on the chat. Where on the website was the accommodations and modifications PowerPoint for general education teachers?
So just go under districts, and we're going to put all our professional development specific for the district. We're going to start putting it here so it's quick and easy. And then we've got that first one on there. We'd like to do some more professional development that we create. We provide the script, we provide materials, and you can use that professional development any way you want in your district. So we're kind of targeting doing more of that and feeling that that would be more beneficial. We can't be everywhere at one time. We'd love to, but, you know, we'd love to just, you know, do some more things that are more helpful for you guys in the district. So. Okay, Sarah,
Okay, great. Thanks, Lisa.
you're welcome.
Okay. Go back to sharing my screen and the PowerPoint. And well, come on now. All right, here we go. All right.
Hi, Sarah, if you can hear me, can y'all hear me
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, I can take it. I'm driving, so I apologize for being off camera, but I'm trying to focus on the road. I just wanted to give everybody a quick update. While you're marking your calendar for fall admin, go ahead and mark it for SCCEC. We are back in Myrtle Beach this year. Pre-conference will be February 26th. The conference will be the 27th and 28th. Requests for proposals is open right now. So if you have an expert in your district who has something to share, make sure you point them in that direction. And more just registration link will be opening soon. So I hope to see you there. And don't forget to bring your gen ed counterparts, your parents. There's something for everybody. All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Oh, and
Jenny.
also,
Oh, go ahead.
may I say, quick correction on that last slide. There was a typo. It is Austin Ferrier, and you are going to love him as much as you love Fred Adora. I'm really looking forward to fall admin. Lisa's been working hard on planning that, and it's going to be amazing this year. But Austin Ferrier will be joining us. Thank you.
Oh, Austin, I put Justin. I am so sorry.
Thank you. That's great. And some other things that were on that slide for CEC is that you'll see the slide, or excuse me, the cost. There's an early bird registration fee, and then just the regular registration. So you'll see that when you get to the registration. There are levels for professional, non-member, student member, student non-member, parents. And the parents and students are just very good prices. And then if you want a group of 10 or more, there's an email address there. You can write to that person and register your group of 10. So next up, Troy Hall from Able, South Carolina, Director of Youth Transition Programs, is here today to talk to us about what they have to offer. So Troy, if you would like to unmute and share your face, you can open your camera as well. That's fine.
Yeah.
And just let me know when you'd like me to change the slide.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, hi, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. I'm going to try and make this as succinct as possible. I see a few familiar names on the screen, but for those who I have not had the pleasure of working with yet, hi, I'm Troy Hall. I'm the Director of Youth Transition Programs over at Able, South Carolina. I'm a white male with glasses and brown hair. I'm wearing a green sweater on your screen today. The picture on the screen, I'm wearing a white button down. We can go to the next slide, and I'm going to talk just a little bit about Able, South Carolina, for those who might not be familiar with us. So we can go to that. Yeah, thank you. So Able, South Carolina is a disability advocacy agency, in short. We're technically classified as a Center for Independent Living, but we're the state's oldest and largest federally recognized disability-led organization. One of the amazing things about Able, South Carolina, and all Centers for Independent Living is that we serve the disability community, but we also are the disability community. So we are mandated to have 50% of our staff and 51% of our board be people with disabilities. We're lucky enough that I think about 80 to 90% of our staff are people with disabilities. I'm a person with a disability. So we very much are the community that we serve. We can go to that next slide. So Able, South Carolina does a lot of stuff. But our mission is we equip, educate, and advocate, right? So we want to make sure that everyone has the tools and resources that they need in order to lead self-directed lives. We want to make sure that we're educating youth in the community and professionals. And then we want to use our power to advocate for access and equity and inclusion on all levels. And on this screen, if you can see, there's a picture of our staff when we were a little smaller, all wearing matching blue shirts on the State House steps for our Advocacy Day event. And we're actually going to skip this slide and go straight to the next one, which is really the meat of why I'm here. So I wanted to let you guys know about what Able South Carolina can do for LEA. So what can we do for your schools and your districts? And there are 3 services that we can offer to the schools that you serve for free that I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of. And that is professional development for your staff is something we can do for free. In school and after school peer-led peer mentoring programs, and then some of our pre-employment transition services. Those are 3 services that we can do for free for your schools. So if we can go to that next slide, I will jump into one of them that I think is probably going to be of interest to everybody on the call. And that is our professional development. So as I said, Able South Carolina, we are professionals with disabilities. A lot of us have specific educational backgrounds, have specific advocacy backgrounds, and then also we have done a lot of research and we've done a lot of work across the state in various schools. And so one of the things we like to do is when we're working with schools, when we're working with veteran educators or new educators, we want to share our knowledge, to share what we've learned. And so as we've worked with schools, a lot of times they have requested us come in and specifically talk to either all staff or specific parts of their staff to talk about some key topics. And that's going to be either disability history and disability etiquette. So, I'll kind of refer to this as Disability 101, but this is just a really great professional development course that helps anyone on staff who's working with young people with disabilities to kind of understand the historic context of disability and disability education and sort of where we are now in 2025 going into 2026. The second thing that we've been asked a lot is to talk about how to create engaging and accessible classes. Creating accessible lessons, accessible classrooms, accessible environments. Sometimes that can feel like a full-time job. That can feel like it can be really expensive and really labor intensive. And also a lot of teachers in the classroom will say that, especially gen ed teachers, but a lot of teachers will say that in order to make things accessible, they don't always know how to keep that key engagement component. And so we have specific professional development based on how to create really engaging and accessible classrooms and lessons. But then also your school might have a really specific need. You might be looking for a professional to come in and talk to staff or students about something that's just happening at that school. So maybe what's the best way to network with transition service providers, right? Or what if you are working with a classroom and students have very high support needs and you've got newer staff who don't always feel like they're as prepared to hold those students to high standards? Or anti-bullying, right? How to create an anti-bullying environment and a really supportive learning community in your school. These are all things that we've done before. These are all things that we are offering to schools around the state for free. On the screen, you also see an image of one of our staff, one of our youth transition specialists, a young lady who's holding a microphone at one of our summer sessions. But yeah, just to recap, these professional development sessions, which can be virtual or in person, generally last from 45 minutes to 2 hours, depending on exactly what you're asking us to cover. But this is a free service that we offer to schools. You can go to that next slide. Um, another another service that we offer is peer mentoring. This is done under the banner of our EQUIP program. But these are what we call EQUIP clubs. And this is peer-led peer mentoring. This is how youth can build self-advocacy skills within the school environment. We can do these in school or after school. This is a really unique program where our staff will come in, and our staff, accompanied by young professionals with disabilities who are often just out of high school, are coming into the classroom. They're there to be sort of peer mentors and peer leaders. And then they actually have the club participants there elect their own leader, who then receives specialized training from our staff. And then that student comes back and teaches the rest of that classroom whatever specific skill they're talking about for the day. So whether that's historical advocacy, whether that's socializing, whether that's creating an elevator pitch to go along with the resume, whether that's creating anti-bullying strategies, whatever the specific skill is based on where you are in the curriculum of the EQUIP Club, it's the students who are teaching other students, right? This is generally 5 to 12 sessions, and we do have options. If you feel like this is something that your students could really benefit from, or you feel like your teachers would really be interested in backing this kind of initiative and seeing it in schools, we also have some options to pay some of those student leaders as an extra incentive. And if you guys have questions, I've built in some time at the end to kind of walk through any details. If we can go to that next slide real quick. Some other ways that we can promote our peer mentoring. If in school is not really the best avenue, we do have virtual hangouts, which are just virtual spaces that are monitored, where youth can kind of get to know each other and socialize from around the state. We have a Discord, if you all are familiar with Discord. If you are older like me, it is essentially just an chat room that's monitored with different threads. We do monthly community activities, so this is how we help youths kind of explore their resources in their community. The image on the screen is 2 of our youth engaging in a cooking class over at the cook station where they were making pizza. So we're able to work with a lot of community partners and do really fun community events. And then also, even if there's only 1 or 2 students who are really looking for that support, we also have individualized peer-led support in a one-on-one format that we can offer. Next slide. So the last thing we can offer, and we work with a few different partners to make this happen, but that's our pre-employment transition services. So some of you might already be served by another vendor for this. But if you're looking for complementing services, we can offer these pre-employment transition service classes. These can be done virtually or in person. They're generally 4 weekly sessions, 45 minutes each. We can also condense this into a 1-day program, depending on the needs of the school, if that works better for your schedule, which is 4 45-minute sessions with breaks. We have also had partners who like to host these 1-day sessions at other sites. So a tech school that they're going to be doing a tour of, or a community resource. And then on the screen, you can see an image of one of our staff members who is working with some of the students we've worked with in the past, building some of these pre-ed skills. And I believe on this next slide is just a sample of some of the topics that we cover in these pre-employment transition skills classes. So one of our curriculums we start with is called Self-Advocacy, Disabilities, and Accommodations. We start with just very basically helping youth identify their interests, strengths, and weaknesses and accommodations. Then we introduce the concept of supported decision-making. We talk about specific accommodations in workplace and academic settings. And then we have youth sort of identify, describe, and ideally practice 2 to 3 self-advocacy strategies that resonate with them. I do want to say that all of these services, these classes included, are designed to work with all students, regardless of their disability, regardless of their education track, regardless of their support needs. We have incredibly skilled youth transition specialists who come out and facilitate these lessons, who are really able to hold youth to high standards, kind of give them a space to learn and fail and grow, and build up these really, really essential skills. So we can go to the next slide. That should be some of our contact information. So if any of this sounds interesting, again, this is a free resource. If any of this sounds interesting, please reach out to me, reach out to our general email at info@able-sc.org or me, thall@able-sc.org. So that's a great question. So the transition age classes are really designed for 13 to 21. Most of our youth programs will allow us, that's not the pre-eds classes, will allow us to work with students 12 to 28. But specifically, if you're talking about when are these really going to be the most effective, we really find starting with self-advocacy as early as possible, and doing this repeatedly is the best strategy. So right at 13, and then sort of that freshman level, and then once we start looking more at vocational, at post-school life, that's really 11th or 12th grade, or kind of 16, 17 up. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you, Troy.
Yeah. Any other questions, concerns? This is solely for my own gratification. I don't want to take a bunch of everyone's time. Do you guys have the ability to do thumbs up emojis? If you've heard of or worked with Able South Carolina, can I get a thumbs up emoji? I don't know if that's something else. Okay. A handful. Great.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I see a question from Melissa.
Melissa, would you like to
thumbs up.
unmute and ask your question, or did you mean to hit the thumbs up?
Okay.
There you go.
Awesome. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up, so I'm also really hoping that means those thumbs up are going to transfer into y'all emailing or calling to set up some of our professional development. We would really, really love to be able to visit a lot of your schools and districts, and help share some of our information. We hear from a lot of schools that they feel like they need more information on working with youth with disabilities, and they would love to see how they can implement some sort of peer aspect. We want to go out there and be those boots on the ground and give you that really individualized knowledge. So please, 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 give us a call, shoot us an email. We'd love to, I want to be inundated with requests. So please. Thank you all so much for the time today, too.
And thank you, Troy, for taking time out of your busy schedule to share with us all that you offer. Okay. Next up, we have our updates from SC Teens, and the Academic Alliance is up first.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm glad to be here today. Just a few updates. First of all, just want to remind everyone of our MTSS Summit Series. Somebody said we were doing MTSS. Actually, we're talking about practices to serve our students with disabilities within the MTSS framework, and all means all. So that means we want general and special educators at these sessions. We have national leaders, great for our ATSI schools, great for lead, general and special education teachers, coaches. You might think about starting small with one school. We can have tons of professional development, but if we don't go back with a plan for implementation, it will not work. So next week is our math. We'll be closing registration on Friday. We have the elementary on the 14th and secondary level on the 15th with Dr. Paul Riccomini. We will be in the Kershaw County School District. Thanks to them for hosting us. And then just coming up on November 19th, we're really going to focus on database decision making. I don't know why that got cut off with using your progress monitoring data. Dr. Judy Elliott will be talking about next steps with that. And then coming up in January of 26, we're going to focus on reading comprehension. In February, we're bringing Michael Herbert in from the University of California at Irvine to talk about written language strategies. And then our last one will be, how do we really intensify specially designed instruction? We talk about it all the time, but how do you do it? So there's a registration there, and there's also a flyer for that you can share with others that has links to each session. Next slide, Sarah. Coming up in October, we have an evidence-based practice network tomorrow, establishing routines with instructional formats. This is really about instruction. It's across content areas. We have Jennifer Sowers from the Charleston County School District is doing that session with me. And then we have 3 communities of practice. These are great opportunities for teachers to connect with other teachers or service providers. The extensive support needs are for those that have students that have teachers and staff serving those students with multiple disabilities. Our teacher toolkit one is really Ginger Cato and I do that together. She's our general ed partner. And so we really talk about working together in those settings and how we our members give the topics. And then we have one on database problem solving where you can bring your data. You can bring individual data, you can bring school data, you can submit it ahead of time. So think about joining those communities. Next up, Sarah. We have 2 new resources out. One is a one-pager that is really intended for your LEAs in your schools, those who serve your special educators. And this, the September edition, we have a new document on IEP program modifications, just to let you know anything that we do, Dr. Mitchell reviews for us. And so we kind of put together some ideas for that. There's a link to a blog that Dr. Yell and Dr. Bateman have that is great for educational leaders to be a part of. They post when new laws come up. There's a module on this, a link to a module by the Lead IDEA Center. Great, you could use that. I know a lot of you do trainings with your administrators. And then the last one is just a little bit about our Ask applications, which is intended for parents. So this one pager is something you could send to your building level leaders. And then we have a new literacy brief on text dependent writing frames. Totally instructional, has a lot of resources with it that you can share with teachers, both general and special ed teachers. And all right. If you click on those links in there, somebody asks how to get the resources, it will take you to the site, right to the web page. So the literacy briefs right there, yes, and for your LEAs, both of those. So when you get the slides. And I did check them and they work. So hopefully they still work, Sarah, even though you've had some problems with your technology today. All right, next slide. Just remember, this is where you can get the calendar for all of our events. You can go there. We have everything posted there and it'll link you to registrations. And then lastly, if you're not getting our newsletter, that's where we update you on new resources. And that's on the next slide. Do sign up for it. We send it out once a month. And that's it. Look forward to seeing everybody in November at the administration conference.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for your patience with my technology issues today. What would I do without friends like you, right?
Happens to all of us.
Oh, and now task.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Leah Irwin. I'm with the Transition Alliance of South Carolina, and I'll be pretty quick today, just a couple of things. Our annual fall conference is coming up in just less than 2 weeks, but registration is still open. I think we will probably leave it open until Monday, but we usually make exceptions. We want you there. We've got a great lineup of sessions. We'll be posting the program very soon that will have all of the breakout sessions on it, but we've got a wide variety of topics. The third day of this conference is a new team planning summit. This is a half-day event for districts to attend as a team and leave with a plan for implementation. That third day is free. You do not have to register for the primary conference to attend that. We've got a couple of other fun things planned. There's state transition awards. There's a school-based enterprise panel. We have a fun networking event for Monday evening, as well as some free tickets available on Tuesday evening to Greenville Can Talks. So we would love to have you there. There's more information about the conference at that link. And I think we can go to the next slide. We are available to provide technical assistance regardless of your determinations status. So if you need support, if you need help locating resources in any area, please reach out to us. We're here to help and support you. Next slide. And then just want to shout out our website and the Task app. I'm not sure if I would call the website new at this point, but it definitely is still improving. Like the Ask website, we have a calendar of events as well as a link to sign up for our newsletter. That goes out monthly and is a great way to keep up with all that we're doing and with any new resources that we develop. The Task app is pretty easily accessible from your desktop or your phone. And this is really just a warehouse of resources. So easily searchable by keyword, and that can pull up anything you need. So I look forward to hearing from you and to hopefully seeing all of you at the conference in Greenville on October 20th. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Leah. First, I'd like to address what popped up in our chat. I think that's one of the AI bots that takes notes and then decides what our next steps are. Or action items. So kind of on point, but not quite. So feel free to make your own action steps. Our next information session is October 21st, so that's in 2 weeks. And then after that, we'll have, we won't have information sessions on Tuesdays in November because we are having fall admin. And those dates again are November 6th or November 12th. And those are all day. Go ahead.
Actually, Sarah, I was just going to say, we won't have one on November 4th. It's election day and it's right before fall admin, but we will be having one on the 18th.
Oh, we will have one on the 18th.
The 18th of November, but not one on November 4th, which is, like I said, it's a Tuesday, it's election day, and it's also right before the fall admin. So we will not have an information session on that day.
Gotcha. I'm sorry about that. And for the person who wrote in the chat about the fall admin slides, yes, Lisa was able to get that together. I was having a lot of technical difficulties this afternoon, not being able to pull slides. It was just not working today. So she put that together at the last minute. So we will make sure that is in the slide deck and in your Google folder this afternoon. Any other questions? If not, thank you very much for your time, your attention, and your patience. And we'll see you again, October 21st.